Welcome back to On the Record. We're here with Robert or Bob Dutkowsky, who is the Chief Executive Officer for Tech Data Worldwide. Welcome back to the
Thanks
show.
for having us. It's good to be back.
It's always good to interview you. You always have some good, interesting things and foresights. So you're up here because, let's talk about, because we're in Canada, and that's not a place where we get CEOs too often from Tech Data coming up. So
Yeah, I try to come up and visit Rick Reed and his team a couple of times a year. This time it's interesting because our Tech Data Worldwide Board of Directors meeting is in Toronto this week. And so we have our board, and they'll do the business of the board over the course of the next few days, but they'll also get the opportunity to see the Tech Data Canada business, both the business side of it and the logistics side of it, and then they'll have the opportunity to meet with some customers and vendors. So the board will get a really nice feeling for the whole tech data business here in Canada. We're excited to have the board here in Toronto.
oh, good. As a Canadian, I'm really happy to see that because it's good for Canada to
Well,
get,
and,
you know.
tech data is a global business. We do business in over 100 countries around the world. So it's important that the board get out and see and feel the company really in the shadow of the customer. And Rick's and his team is able to show that very well here with one visit and one stop.
Terrific. Let's go into something that's probably more interest to our readers, and that is hot technologies. Like the industry has changed so much over the past 3, 4, 5 years. Makes it so much more easier for a VAR to be a VAR or a reseller or whatever you want to call them. What do you think are going to be the things that they should focus on?
It's interesting. This is my 35th year in the technology space, and every year you think, well, it can't change as much as it did the year before or the decade before, but it continues. The IT industry and the tech industry just continues to barrel forward with innovation on all fronts. And so, from Tech Data's point of view, there's really 4 big areas that we watch very carefully and we invest in heavily. That's the data center, that's mobility, it's software, and it's consumer electronics. And we think those 4 areas are the big opportunities today, but also in the next, let's say 5 to 7 years, we think that's where all the big sea changes are going to happen. So let's just think about it for a second. In the data center, virtualization was the hot topic a few years ago, yet only 20% of the world's servers today are virtualized. There's still a huge opportunity in virtualization. Big data will be a powerful force inside the data center as businesses get more and more data and have to analyze that. So we continue to invest in the data center. In mobility, I mean, think about the advent of the smartphone, cell phone, the always on, always connected world, more powerful platforms, more features and functions, more applications, and so that whole space of mobility is important to us, including the whole advent of the tablet. And when the Windows 8 tablets come out later this year, we think that'll be a big opportunity for us. In software, it's everything from operating systems to security to virtualization to big, broad applications. And for Tech Data, that's nearly a $5 billion a year business now. It's become very large for us in software. And then consumer electronics is, the consumerization of technology. It used to be where IT set the agenda for technology, and now the consumer sets the agenda for technology. And so if you think about Tech Data, we're everywhere from the living room to the data center and all points in between. And we think that the investments we've made in those 4 areas will position us for long-term growth.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because if you go look at the beginning of where Tech Data started, it was pretty much in the consumer electronics.
Yeah, we really started in supplies, in diskettes and things like that. If most of your readers and listeners don't know what a diskette is, but that was like the standard mode of storage way back when.
Okay, you're making me feel old.
Well, I'm older than you, so it's okay. But now when you look at companies, employees won't work at companies that don't endorse a bring your own device philosophy. Right? This is happens to be my smartphone, but I do my Tech Data mail on this, and I have pictures of my grandchildren on this. Is this a business device or a consumer device? Well, it's really both. And so the world, we call it the prosumer. The professional and the consumer have come together in a very aggressive way. And so for a company like Tech Data to support the Canadian market, we have to be in the consumer space as well as the business space.
Yeah, well, they're coming together just like telephony came together, and there's been so many of them that the electrical industry and with when you first started, or when I first started in this business, you wouldn't have a distributor selling UPSs or anything like that, and now it's just second nature. I mean, where else would you get them?
Yeah, you have to be, one of the strengths of Tech Data is that we truly are one-stop shopping for the VAR. The VAR can make one phone call to Tech Data and get everything from a mouse pad to a mainframe and all points in between. And that's really critical in terms of the productivity and the efficiency that the VAR seeks in the marketplace. They have to have a partner like Tech Data that has a broad array of products.
So one of the things I've always liked about Tech Data is that you're always changing. Like you're not sitting back and saying, "Oh my goodness, everything's changed, and now we're going to go out of business." You're sitting there saying, "Okay, how are we going to be able to service your vendors, and how are you going to be able to service the resellers with things like apps and so on?" Like, I mean, I know you're doing a lot on that. Do you think that's going to be huge?
Oh yeah, the hardware is interesting, but without the apps, it doesn't deliver the value to the user. And so historically, companies like Tech Data were really hardware oriented. But now, with the as I said before, our software business is nearly a $5 billion business around the world. And so we've had to innovate on the way that we help our software vendor partners deliver solutions to the market as well. We're really good at picking and packing and shipping a box. I would contend we can do that as well as anybody in the world. But to ship bits is a different business, software in other words.
I got you.
And then to add value around the software or the hardware. Right here in Tech Data Canada, we have arguably our best configuration center anywhere we have in the world. We have 26 logistics centers around the world. This is the best value add center that we have anywhere in the world. So we can take hardware and software and configure that right for our VAR to ship to their end user customer more efficiently and effectively than the VAR can, because of the broad array of technologies we have access to, as well as the fact that the volume that we can do projects like that, we can do it better, faster, cheaper than they can do it. So my point is the definition of value add for a distributor has changed over the last few years because the market has changed. And Tech Data has been, I would contend, right on the cutting edge of that change. Consumer products, mobility products, software products, data center products, those are not things you thought of Tech Data, say, 10 or 15 years ago. When you said Tech Data, you said PCs, printers, right? That was our world. It was the world of the desktop, and now it's changed.
And you only thought pick, pack, and ship.
And who could pick and pack and ship a box most efficiently? Now, we're everywhere from the data center to the living room, and we add unique value in each stop along the way. And again, part of the reason we brought the Tech Data Board of Directors to Canada is because Rick Reed and his team embody that whole story as well as anybody in any Tech Data location in the world.
So, but jumping back for 1 minute though, the future for, how I see the future for Tech Data going forward is the same thing that you've always done, which is to help the vendors and to help the resellers. But I think where it's going to be going more and more, and tell me if you disagree, is going to be into apps where you'll be able to tell them which apps for which companies are needed and where they go, and do all the research for them. And so that when they're coming in, just like you did with any product before, you would be able to say, well, okay, for this type of customer, here's what's good for them, and help them, so that for the first time ever, though, or maybe not the first time, but on a wide scale, a reseller will actually be able to be talking to the CEOs of companies, because he'll be telling them about products that are going to be able to give them either a way to increase their revenue or decrease their costs, or something that goes on to the bottom of the balance sheet.
We have an initiative that we've launched in some countries around the world called Stream One,
which I love.
Yeah, so Stream One is is a commercial B2B app store for the channel. So let's just play a scenario. Let's say a VAR goes out to call, and he calls on a 10-man law firm, and the law firm needs a hosted exchange environment, right? They don't want to have exchange on their computers. They want to have exchange in the cloud, email in the cloud.
Yep.
The VAR can come back to his office, log into techdata.com, go to Stream 1 and say hosted exchange offerings. And all of the exchange offerings we have come up on the screen. He picks one. That one could have a video from the owner of the hosted exchange company saying, here's why, Mr. VAR, you want to sell my offering. Here's a don't take my word for it, take a word of a reference. And on video, the reference can show right up. The VAR can print the PDFs with all of the marketing documents right on that site. And Stream 1 can do the enablement and monthly billing routines for the VAR as well, which, you know, the typical VAR knows how to ship a box, not do repetitive billing. So Stream 1 becomes that ecosystem, that infrastructure for in a cloud as a service kind of environment that most apps over time will be delivered on. So Stream 1 is pure innovation, developed by Tech Data. We spent millions of dollars to build that tool. You don't typically see a distributor build an ecosystem and invest in a platform like that, but we've done that. That's, I think, a great example of a new distributor. You know, what the distributor in IT in the world today has to be versus just the pure pick, pack, and ship.
And for the people who are building apps, they don't have to now build that whole infrastructure for themselves. They can just tap into you and.
Not only that, think of the marketing machine that they can get. If they host their apps on Stream 1.
Mm-hmm.
We do. I mean, you're a small VAR that has a add-on application for a PeopleSoft payroll package, right? How do you get that product into the market? Well, you need VARs to install it. Well, you can put all the marketing collateral on Stream 1, and a VAR that has a customer who has PeopleSoft payroll could find that application and sell it and implement it. So it could be very big over time. You know, we have a vision that we'll have tens of thousands of apps on Stream 1 in the future. We're not there today, but we'll get there.
No, and that's exactly where I was going. I think you're definitely going to be there, and it's a service that if a reseller wants to do without something like that, it's going to take them. It could take them, you know, hours, hundreds of hours to find the right apps. And what will end up happening if they don't do it, you know, if they're doing it on their own, is that they won't find the best one. They'll find the first one.
Yeah, well, it's luck. You know,
Yeah.
the VAR comes back to his office and he starts crawling around on the web trying to find a PeopleSoft payroll package. Maybe he finds one, maybe he doesn't. Or he calls somebody that he knows and says, do you know anybody who knows anything about? Now he can go to techdata.com, Stream 1, and find, over time we'll be able to have access to the best products that fit in that environment. His productivity goes up, his customer sat goes up, and the ISV that built the package, their productivity goes way up. So it's a win-win for all. And you know, if you think about the historical reason why distributors exist, they make VARs more productive and they create an efficient route to market for a vendor. And that's what Stream 1's done for software as a service, platform as a service, hardware as a service. It's a very interesting opportunity for us.
Terrific.
Great, well, it's good
Thanks
to see you
very much
again.
for being on the
Thanks for
record.
having us.